Hey y'all, hey, it's your girl Diamond Crystal, also known as the Gallivanting Grandma, and I am excited today to come to you with a very special guest. But before I introduce my guest, let me introduce myself for those of you who may not know me or are new to my channel. I am the Gallivanting Grandma. I am a full-time global nomad, five-star international house sitter, and I am an intentional connector in these international streets. And I meet the most incredible people along this journey. And today, I want to introduce you to someone that I find to be extremely interesting. And I'd like her to share her story with you. So, without further ado, enough about me. I'm going to bring on Miss Melanie and she can introduce herself. Hey, Miss Melanie.
Hello, everybody. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How you doing today?
I am blessed and full of life and energy.
All
I
right, all right. Listen, the smile and that yellow is just giving me life this morning. So thank you so much for agreeing to be a guest on my channel. I introduced myself, but you introduce yourself to our visitors.
okay. I am Miss Melanie, and the reason why I say Miss Melanie is I am a teacher at heart, and I have been teaching for many, many years. And so I've just been Miss Melanie for so long that I continue to be Miss Melanie. I am an international house sitter and senior solo slow traveler. And I'm a holistic life coach. And I have been out in these international streets. I have been since 2003. So this
Oh, you are OG. Wait a minute. You are OG for real.
22 years. Yes.
Wow.
And in 88, 89, I left and lived in Germany and the UK for a year. And when I came back, I was like, oh no. Literally, I landed in New York and I felt the agreement of racism, because it's really just an agreement that we've all fallen for.
Mm-hmm.
The agreement of racism landed on me like a wet wool blanket.
Ooh, doesn't
And
it hit you hard?
it hit hard. And
Yeah.
I'm mixed race. And people can tell, people are like, what's going on? So my mother is currently passing for white in Yuma, Arizona. And I grew up with all of the ish that goes with that.
Okay, time out, time out, time out, time out. Because you just jumped in all the way in the bag, girl. Okay, wait. We're going to have to pause. Your mother is still alive.
Yes.
Blessings. And she is passing for white.
She is Cape Verdean, 100.
Uh-huh.
She's Cape Verdean in Spanish, but
Uh-huh.
she's in Arizona. And so it was a cousin who had to point it out to me, like, the dark members of our family do not get invited to Yuma, but the light-skinned ones do. And
Girl, the colorism exists strong in your family.
mm-hmm.
Wow.
But in my family, it's balanced because our chocolate skin was praised too. I got a light-skinned cousin who's like, but that wasn't special in our family. So there was a balance, a weird balance to it. We had one of my grandmother's sister who took all the birth certificates and made sure they removed Negro from them. And then we have those of us I have two cousins, they're sisters, same mother, same father. One of them is African and the other one is white.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you're home right now. You're in Cape Verde. Do you have citizenship there?
Excuse me?
You have citizenship there?
I am here to get citizenship. Yes.
Okay.
That
Okay.
is, I chose to be here. So I grew up with a white presenting mother who told me that too bad your skin is brown, too bad your hair is this, too bad your nose isn't this. So I got mama issues.
Well, I think
And
we all do.
yeah, but I am healing from those things, and I have made the proper cuts in order to be able to heal from those things.
Okay.
But I say that because just my energy can be a little confusing for some people.
Okay, well, it's coming across very energetically. That's all I'm going to say. Peace and positivity, right?
So when I landed in the States, well, actually living in Germany, they loved my black skin and they loved my curly hair and they loved everything about me. So I kind of had this blossoming in Germany, which is kind of
Yeah,
a place to have it, right? So when
yeah,
I
yeah,
landed back in the States and that agreement of racism landed on me, I was like, oh no, I got to get out of here.
yeah.
But I created a brule, which is a bullshit rule, which
Okay.
is which was that I needed to be debt free in order to leave the States.
All right.
And so then it took me 16 years to get close to debt free. And my mechanic refused to fix my car. He said, you need a new car because again, I'm an entrepreneur.
Uh-huh.
Um, and so I was running a personal assistant concierge service and personal organizing. And he was like, you use your car all the time. You need a new car. So I went into debt for a car. And then I was like, since I'm in debt for a car, I may as well go into debt and put a ticket on my credit card. And so I landed in France to take a long train ride up to Germany to visit the
Uh-huh.
people within Germany. And I landed in Nice and I was like, I like this.
Okay.
and,
Okay.
I went, and I went 10 days up to the southern part of Germany where you were either German or you were Turkish and they don't get along. And I was like, ooh, I don't want to have to pick sides.
Uh-huh.
So when I came back down to Nice, I noticed like, okay, the sun and the sea, I noticed that the first time, but the mix of people. And
Okay.
like, this is my place.
Uh-huh.
There's Africans, African Americans, French, Italian. Like the south of France, especially the Riviera and Nice, is full of people from all over the world.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, this is where I want to be. Now, unfortunately, I should have bought the ticket before I bought the car. But it was a learning lesson, and it's a lesson for everybody today because I went back and started selling my stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
I ended up, the only thing I had left was the car, and I kept the car. I ended up leaving and moving back to France with more debt than I had at the time that I made the brule.
Uh-huh.
Okay. But moving to France and your lifestyle, just like people don't understand how expensive it is to live in the States.
Say it
Right.
again for the people in the
Right.
back. For
You
real.
know how expensive it is to live in the States. It is physically expensive, mentally expensive, financially expensive, and emotionally expensive. And you are paying high bills.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are.
And spiritually expensive.
That's right.
So, right. And so I ended up leaving and then paying off that debt quicker than, remember, I had a little bit of debt and I made the brule, and then I had a lot of debt and I paid off that little bit of debt quicker than I paid off, or that big amount of debt quicker than I paid off the little bit of debt.
Okay, can we pause for a second and speak
Yeah.
to kind of how you paid off your debt?
One of the
Did you have a system?
Okay, so first, one of the things was increasing my financial intelligence.
Okay.
And so the book Rich Dad Poor Dad,
Mm-hmm.
I listened to that book, but I didn't just listen to it once. I listened to it over and over and over and over again. And there
Okay.
are so many, like the first thing that he says is, live off of little, like don't live within your means, live below your means.
Yes.
Right. And he talks about his rich dad who has millions of dollars, but had like a third grade education. And his poor dad was college educated, but in debt and didn't have any money.
Yes.
So like the rich dad and the poor dad. So the first thing was to live within my means. And
Uh-huh.
so my mantra was when I was shopping and buying stuff, because we buy so much stuff we don't need.
We are such consumers, are we not?
Mm-hmm. And my mantra was, do I want this more than I want to be financially free?
Right. So
If
it's
I
a
put
decision, it's a choice.
Every time I put my hand on something,
Yep.
I said, do I want this more than I want to be free? And I didn't say financially free, I said free, because there's so many different freedoms that come with not consuming things.
Absolutely.
And I'll tell you, I have given away everything I've owned 3 different times.
Oh, okay. Let me pause you there. Talk about the feelings that you may have had while you were purging. The first time, the second time, and then the third time. Did it get progressively easier? Talk about that purging process, because a lot of people struggle with that, holding on emotional attachment to things.
Okay. So the first time it took a long time because I had a ton of stuff. Like I was 37.
Okay.
So I had a lot of stuff. It took a long time, but I did it in stages, right? And
Okay.
then also I had been a personal organizer. So I tell people this, if you want, here's the quick on how to, you get 3 boxes. You have the love it, the maybe, and the it can go. Okay.
Mm,
And and there's just no thinking, if it can go, it can go.
yeah.
If right, if it can go, if that means you're going to give it to somebody, sell it or give it away, if it can go, it can go. If you love it and you don't ever want to get rid of it, it goes in love. If it's a maybe, it's a maybe. You don't have to think about it. It's a maybe. I don't know, maybe I want it, maybe I don't want it. It's a maybe.
Right, right, right.
You get rid of the go box, you empty it, but you bring it back, and 2 weeks later you do that same thing again.
Yes.
Because the things that you were like, oh, I really want this, it just changes. And then also, when you leave and you store stuff, two
Ooh,
months later, when you come back, you'll be like, I don't even know why I kept this.
that part right there. Right there. I mean, literally, I'm traveling as light as I think I can, and every single time I touch down for 30 days or more, I leave some stuff behind because I really didn't need it. So it's an ongoing process for me.
And so there's just things that you think you need, you think you want, and when you get out and go and move yourself away from them, you don't want them anymore. So the first time was a very slow process, and I just think I was like, I want to get out of here. So I was okay with like getting rid of the stuff. I had garage sales like every weekend,
Yeah.
and then the second time I was leaving France and traveling the world for a year to find my next place on the planet. And I had a lot of very nice stuff.
Uh-huh.
And France is a place where they leave things on the street. So I would pick things up off the street and fix them up. And right. And then I had a friend who was an upholsterer. And so like we would do trades. So I had a lot of nice
A
stuff.
lot of stuff.
It was painful.
Mm-hmm.
It was painful because I lived there for 14 years. So I had all the tools because I'm the DIY girl. And I had all the tools. I also did Airbnb. So I hosted people who stayed in my apartment with me. So I had all the nice sheets and all the nice towels.
Yes. Okay. Well, then that makes sense, right? That makes sense that you accumulated those types of material items. But so many of us get just emotionally attached to, oh, this was I'm talking to myself now. This was my mom's hat. This straw hat. It's got to go with me everywhere I go. And how often do I put that hat on? You know what I'm saying? Things of
Oh
that
yeah.
nature, right? So you
Oh, yeah.
really gotta have conversations with yourself, ongoing conversations.
Yeah. Here's another thing I tell people to do.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Set a timer for 30 minutes and grab
Okay.
whatever you would grab if your house was on fire.
Okay.
Okay, grab whatever you would grab if your house was on fire. And after 30 minutes, that's a state. That goes in the love box, right?
Uh-huh.
But
Uh-huh.
now start to look at everything else as it wasn't important in a fire. So why is it important now? Because
Okay.
there's a lot of sentimental attachment that we attach to things, but if there was a fire, we would let it burn.
Let it burn, baby. Let it burn. That's right. You need to teach a class on how to purge. I see in a lot of the expat groups that this is one of the major challenges is people letting go of things and paying storage fees, which
Oh,
really storage fees in the United States are the equivalent of a month's rent somewhere yeah, I mean, 2 months rent somewhere in another country, right? It's just money that I can't see spending. So
Yeah.
I'm of the
Yeah.
sentiment. Listen, let me tell you, the lighter the better. I'm not gonna be Erica Badu's bag lady. That's it.
I absolutely could teach that class because, again, I was a personal organizer and I would have
Yeah,
people, ooh, but give me a month. Ooh, but give me 2 weeks. And I would say, you have a storage unit. What if you paid me less than what you pay for that storage unit? And at the end, you don't have to pay that storage unit anymore. Because also people get bogged down in the emotional part of it. So you kind of do need
sure.
something to hold your hand. You need somebody to hold your hand and kind of like say, like, and so yeah, I've had clients where they were like, give me 2 weeks. And I was like, we can be done in 2 weeks.
Right,
I,
right.
I go through this, and a lot of it, the one woman who I'm thinking about, I moved her out of her storage unit and she had her mother's stuff and there was a lot of emotional stuff to that. And we did it in 2 weeks. And she was like, this is going
Wow,
to pay for itself in a month. Like all
absolutely.
pay for itself in a month. So yes, anybody who's in a storage unit, I can definitely save you
All right,
money.
so listen. Whoever is paying U.S. storage fees, y'all need to get on Miss Melanie's calendar so she can tell you how to get, because you don't want to be an episode of Hoarders, right? Is that show still on? I don't even know, but you don't want to be an episode of Hoarders. So hit up Miss Melanie. I want to talk a little bit about some of the unique places that you have visited. You said that you really fell in love with Nice. You fell in love with France. Germany was a place where you had your reckoning. But I know from our initial conversation that you've spent some time in places that we don't talk a lot about in the expat community. And I want to start with the Baltics. Um, because you also indicated when we spoke, you said, I consider myself to be undereducated and too broke to be living the lifestyle that I'm living. But the Baltics that's high income economy area. So talk to us about how you manage in the Baltics. How did you like it? Why did you choose it, first of all? And how long were you there?
Okay, so the Baltics being high end is that was not my experience.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so first of all, why did I choose the Baltics? It's okay. So I woke up like January 1st in France and was like, um, I didn't move here to take advantage of the French social system, but I'm also not going to let it take advantage of me,
Okay.
because the government bought my building, turned it into low income housing, and then was like, you have to pay based on your income. And I was like, wait, I got my hustle on, so I have to pay more than dude who's not doing nothing?
Yes, yes.
No. So I was like, okay, I'm going to leave France and find my next place on the planet. And I would just tell my friends, like, I'm leaving. And they were like, when? And I was like, it feels like middle of March.
Uh-huh.
And they were like, where are you going? And I was like, I don't know yet. And so what came first? I was listening to Joe Dispenza's stuff. Just you can create and you can change, what wires together, fires together. And he was doing a conference in Romania.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if that was first or Vipassana. Now, Vipassana is a 10-day free meditation course. And I talked to you about that before.
Yes,
So
yes.
I'm actually not sure if Vipassana came first, if I booked that first, or if I booked his. But like if I booked Vipassana Vipassana was in Bulgaria. So I wasn't sure if I booked that first or if I booked Romania first,
Okay.
but one came first, one came second. So I left Nice and flew to Romania and was there for the convention event, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then I flew from Romania to Croatia to work my way across to Bulgaria. Now,
Mm-hmm.
time, those places were not expensive at all, but I didn't pay rent. I was paying I was doing two things. I was doing HelpX, which
Okay.
is For people who don't know, it's a website, and it at that time it cost $30 a year. Now it costs $30 for 2 years. And
Mm-hmm.
you have people who host you, and you can go, and as long as you get to them, they will feed you and house you for a couple of hours of work a day.
Okay. Okay.
And
So it's kind of like a workaway kind of thing.
yes, so
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
HelpX is Woofing is the original, and then HelpX came along, and now Workaway. And Workaway is generally younger folks,
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
younger things. So the first place that I landed in Croatia was a HelpX
Yeah.
situation. Yeah.
Croatia. That's on my list. It's gorgeous.
And I loved it. I loved
Yeah.
it. I stayed in Zagreb at an Airbnb, which
Mm-hmm.
was pennies. Now the price has gone up now because they're in the EU, and so they're
Yes.
experiencing that euro inflation.
Yep.
But I literally went to every restaurant I went to in Croatia, I felt guilty for sitting there that long when I saw the price. So I would get like a coffee and a cake, and then I would look at the price and I'd be like, oh, give me a sandwich and give me another coffee, because I just felt guilty sitting at their table for $3, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so but it was very cheap there, and so I stayed in 3 different places in Croatia. So, and then another thing that I did was I used BlaBlaCar, which
Yep.
is basically you pay somebody who has an extra spot in their car.
Yep.
And I think I went from Zagreb to Slunj by BlaBlaCar.
Modern
And
day hitchhiking.
pretty much like it's a little bit safer than hitchhiking, because they're in the thing and you're in the thing, and there's
Yep.
like,
Yep.
so but remember, this was 8 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so did BlaBlaCar to get to certain places, and then when you're in the Baltics, a bus ride is like $4 or $5, a train ride is like $4 or $5, like getting
Yeah.
around very cheap. And even the Airbnbs were very cheap back then.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I had 3 different places there, and then I was 2 days in Serbia, which Serbia was rough. But
Mm.
Serbia was rough. You can tell, like, because this is the former Yugoslavia that broke up into all of these different countries.
Okay.
So the vibes are different in the different countries. But Serbia, the cost of living there was so cheap. I feel like I exchanged money, and then when I left Serbia and went into Bulgaria, I exchanged it and I was like, I think I made money.
Really? Oh,
I think I
wow.
made more money than I gave on the other side. And so
Yeah.
I was only in Serbia for 2 days. It As far as like maybe somebody's thinking, was there any racism? I didn't experience any racism. I
Mm-hmm.
experienced being unique, and also I believe it's a little bit of American privilege, which again, this was 8 years ago. But people are like, hi, and they're friendly, and they will
Uh-huh.
help. And here's one thing, here's a travel tip. If you ever feel uncomfortable and you see Jehovah's Witnesses, you can just go chat with them for a little while.
I made some great contacts when I was in Cuernavaca, Mexico, and it was a couple, and that was their ministry. So you see people who look like you anywhere, and you're like, hey, like black girl walk up, hey girls, how you doing? Where you from, right? And they were Jehovah Witnesses, and I mean, it was just a wonderful connection. You're absolutely right. I met so many local people just by running into this one couple. Continue.
Yeah. So so basically Serbia was just a couple of days, and then I again trained into Bulgaria. It was a little like going from Croatia to, or from, was it Serbia? At some point the lettering changed to Cyrillic. Now
Uh-huh.
I understand German, I speak a little German, I speak French,
All
English.
right, you go on, girl.
But when that language, that alphabet changed, I was like, oh wow, like
Yeah.
I cannot read and guess pharmacy or this kind of thing anymore. So Serbia was like, I left my comfort zone. One of my posts on social media was like, Has anybody seen my comfort zone? Because I left it. I left it.
Wow. Yes, yes. I could just imagine. Wow.
And so in Bulgaria, again, I did uh, HelpX
Okay. Uh-huh.
in two different places. One woman reached out to me and said, I need a house sitter. And so I house sat in Bulgaria for 6 weeks on it in a place. I don't know if she was off grid or not, but I was keeping her gardens going and mowing the lawn and taking care of the dog. And so
Okay.
you can
Okay.
find house sitting on HelpX as well.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's a good tip, because I've been out in these international streets thanks to house sitting, and there are many ways to house sit.
Yes.
The majority of us start or think about trusted house sitters, and I know that you and I are sisters in that venture.
Thank
But at the end of the day, every country has its own house sitting community, and it's important to be able to tap into it locally because
you.
sometimes you can find better exchanges than you will on the platform, and other times there are paid opportunities because everybody needs money in these streets, right?
That's right. Yeah. So, like, one of the things that I do is so I'm on Trusted House Sitters, but I
Uh-huh.
also, when I want to go to an area, I go on Facebook and find all the house sitting in that area. So, and put a little thing out there. This is my experience, and this is what's going.
Yes. Yes, yes. You got to be strategic about it, and you definitely have to be intentional about finding
Yeah.
opportunities in every country. Because at the end of the day, the beauty of house sitting is that you can virtually eliminate rent, right?
Yes.
So in between, yeah, however you want to stay, Airbnb, hostel, whatever the case may be, in between sits. But my goal is always, I'm gonna find me a house sit, minimize these expenses because I like to do what I like to do with my discretionary income.
I so house sitting allows me to eat well.
Yeah, girl,
I'm
say that part.
like food.
And
So
and you can eat so well because it's so inexpensive.
yes.
In many countries, what I spend for a meal. I just came from the States visiting my daughter and granddaughter for 2 weeks in the Atlanta area. What I spent there in 2 weeks is like the equivalent of 2 months in Latin
Yeah.
America. It's mind-boggling how much
People
we
don't believe
spend.
us. People don't believe us when we talk about how much better you can live on how
Ooh,
little money just by leaving the states.
just
But
by leaving the state. And
I'm
there's
a,
of course, I'm sorry, there's a large community that will say get your $1 million before you leave.
mm,
I'm
you
way shy of $1 million, and I live $1 million plus lifestyle.
mm, you will save $1 million much quicker after you leave. You will save $1 million much quicker after you leave.
Agreed.
Um,
Agreed. Agreed.
so here's my funny story. I was in Bulgaria. I was house sitting. I didn't see no black people forever.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And when I landed in Dublin, I went to Dublin after that. I saw a black man and I was like, hi. And he was like, I don't
Who
know
you
you.
talking to?
I don't know you. And I was like, I am not the only black in the village anymore. I'm not even in the village.
Wow. Wow.
But
Okay,
yeah.
so let's talk a little bit about finding community, or in some instances, creating community where you go. You said you reach out to the Facebook groups, and I always encourage, particularly solo women travelers, to reach out to the Facebook groups and, give yourself a soft landing before you
Mhm.
get where you're going. You know that there's somebody who's there that you can potentially connect up with. Tell me about your experience in finding or creating community where you travel.
So when I moved to France, I purposely avoided Anglophone community because I'm a tourist, and somebody said to me, like, you're never going to learn the language. You're just going to hang out with Americans and complain about French people. And I was like, watch me. And so for many years, like, did not, until my French was good, I did not look for English
Hmm.
speaking community. And so
Mhm.
like then I was like befriending neighbors and things like that. And then there was a lot of beautiful North African men who wanted to walk with me and have conversation. And I
Girl,
just
that part.
I just consider that free French lessons. So let's go.
I love it. I love it.
And I'll tell you, I'm a little hard headed. I left of the States and I said, the one thing I know I won't do is I will not date a Muslim. And
Okay.
I said I will never, 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 never date a Muslim. And the universe was like, oh, okay, so look, Radwan, Abdul, Abdel.
So you eliminated all of those options.
I dated all the North Africans.
Mad at you. I am not mad at you. And that's a whole nother topic. If we had time to chop that up, we would. But why aren't women dating freely as they're going through this exodus expat journey? I'm not understanding why you're visiting foreign countries and looking for American men.
Oh, I would never be looking for an American man in foreign countries, but there is a security issue. And that's another topic, but I'm going to cover that because there's a lot of things, ways to make sure that you are secure.
Mhm.
So there's a security thing, right?
Yeah,
Like
there is.
living in the south of France, I was followed on average once a month. And so, and because in the wintertime, they don't follow you as much, but in the summertime, you can get followed a couple times a day, right? So I learned how to use the reflection of the window to see. I learned to listen if somebody's walking fast and they get within 6 feet of me and they start
Mhm.
matching my pace,
Yeah,
they are following me, right?
yeah.
You learn their culture too, that like if you're a woman walking by yourself and your arms are showing, then that means that's enough for them to be that you're loose and don't nobody care about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's a reason to be careful. But if you are careful, and I also think there's a lot of people who don't read red flags very well.
Right, right.
And if you don't read red flags very well, then you probably shouldn't date yet, right? And
Okay,
if you,
so give us an example of a red flag.
I just feel like people. I'm going to try to figure out a red flag, but I feel like um, somebody's behavior, somebody will not tell you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And you either self gaslight yourself or you try to give them another chance when they've already been dishonest with you. So you
How,
need
how
to
do you
start.
how do you know that coming out the gate though? I'm at a cafe. I'm minding my business. I'm enjoying my coffee and my crumpet, and a beautiful man walks up to me and asks, "Can he join me in English or in his native language?" What would be the red flag I'd be looking for?
Oh, so if a beautiful man came up and asked me if he could sit with me, I would be like, sure, yes, no problem. I'm okay with
You and
that.
me both.
You can sit down, we can talk. But it's interesting because I have experience with a narcissistic mother and narcissistic friends and narcissistic boyfriends. So if that man sits down and agrees with everything that you say, that's
Uh-huh.
love bombing and mirroring. So that's a red flag. And that's one of the ones that people miss. But here's the trick. Narcissistic people who will love bomb you and mirror you, they still hate the word no. So that's your little secret thing. Say no
Okay.
to
Just say
something.
no.
Say no to something they say, just to check them. Another thing is if a man sits down, he's asked you to sit with you, and then he starts to insult you or make you feel uncomfortable, like, oh, you'd be cute with a little bit of makeup. I get that a lot. And I'm like, I am beautiful. That's why I don't need makeup. Like
That part.
natural beauty, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And so, but if he's, oh, if you lost a little weight, or oh, you'd be cute with a little bit of makeup, or
But wait, men actually say this to you, Melanie?
oh yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. See, but here's what it is. they didn't approach you because you were at their level or below their level. They approached you because you are above their level. So how did they make themselves feel better? They try to pull you down. And if you start to like, oh yeah, I'm on a diet, or oh, you think I need a little makeup, then they know like, oh, okay, she's pulled down a bull, right? And
Pull down a bull. Got it.
right. And so then they just keep doing it, and then they get you, and then they keep pulling you down because they don't want you to leave them, and they don't want you to remember that you were once up here, right? And so yeah, like it's kind of a standard thing that a guy will kind of insult you a little bit just to see how you respond to the insult.
Okay.
And if you
Let
respond,
me let me interject and say that, the opinions of my guests are not a reflection of this channel, but her personal experiences. Okay, so let me put that
yeah,
disclaimer out there. Yes,
yeah, no,
continue.
I would love to hear yours. Please tell me yours.
Oh, this is not about me, girl. This is not about me. But yes, you are right. Safety and security is a big thing,
Yeah.
particularly as mature African American women traveling solo. And if you don't know, if you're not as versed in the cultural idiosyncrasies, differences, if you're not versed in those, and if you don't know enough of the language to pick up on some snide kind of remarks, which may come off as a positive, but really are kind of passive aggressive,
Yeah.
then you could miss some of these things. And I think that's why it's important when you can that you've got local contacts.
Mm-hmm.
And we're gonna get back to those Facebook groups because I don't care where in the world you going. You going to Serbia? There's a black in Serbia. Black here, black expats of this place, that place, wherever. Align yourself with some folks who are actually there, that you can reach out to. Have somebody's phone number in your WhatsApp,
Mm-hmm.
right? So in case
Also,
there is an emergency. Mhm.
also lie. Just lie.
Just lie.
Are you traveling by yourself? No, I'm with friends. I'm just here right now for an
Yep.
hour.
Yep.
Right?
Nope.
Yeah.
My husband's at the hotel taking a nap. I'm out just,
Well, not your
gallivanting.
husband because if you're dating, not your husband because now you're a cheater.
No, 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 no. That's not on a date. That's just, in general conversation. If you do not want to engage the person or they look kind of, suspicious for whatever reason. No,
Yes.
you know, go
But I'm
ahead.
talking about that beautiful man who sat at the table with you. Like
Oh, yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
don't tell him you're alone either. You like
No.
there's right. That's my girlfriend. My girlfriend's coming. She'll be here any minute. Oh, we're meeting at this time or this place, right?
Yep.
You
Yep.
also don't share. You don't go back to their place, and you don't let them come back to you, right? Like those are pretty basic, but not everybody knows those things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, no, I had no problem. Like, I found it was funny. I was given in France, I was giving out my number, but they weren't calling because they didn't have the credit on their phone.
That is so interesting. Wow. Okay. Okay.
So that's another red flag is when somebody walks up and they say, like I had one guy say to me, I have this job and that job and this job and I have a company car. And then I was like, okay, here's my phone number, call me. And he was like, oh, you call me. And I was like, oh, you got all this money, but you don't have enough credit to like
Right.
just ring me. Like, okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that would be a sure sign. That would be a sure sign.
yes.
Um, there are some other places that I found interesting in our initial conversation. When people think about leaving the United States, oftentimes it's to put, other countries, other continents. But you've done some territorial travel. So
Yeah.
you've been in Saipan and you've been in Guam. Can you speak to some of the U.S. territories and what those experiences were like, as opposed to, of course, the continental U.S. is a whole different story.
It
And that's
really is.
where we talk about that blanket of racism, right? But speak to your experience in the U.S. territories.
Okay, so I only spent a month in Guam. So I really was a tourist there.
Okay.
And I landed on Guam after living in London for 8 months. and was like, this is too big. Like, I didn't want to have a car.
Yeah.
And Guam had traffic, like literal traffic, and it was not walkable. That's one of the things is like, Guam and Saipan, Saipan was a little bit more walkable because it was so much smaller, but American territories, in my experience, of the two that I went to, are not walkable. Like, America makes things not walkable because of their addiction to the car industry.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, but Guam, the local people were very nice there. But again, I was a tourist. So I had
Totally different experience.
Totally different experience on Guam than I had on Saipan.
Okay.
So, and for a lot of different reasons. So again, I was there for a month. I was a tourist. It was just too American to me.
Okay.
And so I think I was there for less than 24 hours when I was like, oh, not here.
This is not my place.
Not my place. And my stepbrother had a job there for a month. So I was staying with him. And he was like, you got to go to Saipan, 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 Saipan. And so I landed on Saipan broke.
Okay.
Sight unseen.
All right. All right. How long did you stay broke and sight unseen?
I stayed for 6.5 years.
All right. How'd you change that? How'd you change that?
I loved Saipan from the minute I landed. I was like, oh, it's small here. It's a beautiful tropical island. Like, as an American, I could get a job, although the jobs were not paying very well. So, but yes, let me tell you that story because it talks to the mindset that you have. Like, I landed on Saipan, and when I paid that first month's rent and that deposit, I had $20 left.
Okay.
And my stepbrother's friend had helped. He said, let's go get all the things you need. And I looked at the $20 and I was like, I have everything I need because this is going to feed me while I figure things out. Right.
Yes.
And so I got a SIM card. I think I did call a friend, and a friend loaned me $200. And so, but you know what, food, I just started intermittent fasting. Like, some people say I don't have enough money for food. I called it intermittent fasting.
Okay.
And I was on the 1 day plan. So your mindset, you can feel poor or you can feel right. And so I met a woman and she was selling some things. And I was like, I need towels. And it was funny because I said, okay, I'll buy the towels. I said, but here's the problem. I don't have a car and I don't even really know where I am. And she said, what's the name of your building? And I told her the name of my building. And she said, oh, that's where I stayed when I first got there. And she said, I'll bring you the stuff. So she brought me the towels. She gave me some kitchen utensils. She gave me a laundry basket. I said, here's the money. She said, you keep it. And she gave me a bottle of wine. And then I said, what do you do for work? And she said, I teach English. And I said, I teach English too. I said, but you're probably a teacher. And she said, no, it's a Korean academy. And I said, are they hiring? And she's like, she needs to replace me. And all the jobs I had heard of were like $6 an hour, $7 an hour. And I was like, not me. I will get my hustle on and figure something out. And I asked her, she was like, the least she pays is 14 and the most is 30. Like, you can do groups for like 30. And I was like, bing. And she was like, she needs to replace me. I was like, please give me her number, give her my number, tell her about me. And so I walked 40 minutes to get there because that's my exercise, right? I had the interview. She started me with one class. I'm very good at teaching. So she like that and that's what I did. And that's what started me teaching ESL for myself.
Okay. So did you need certification?
I had gotten certification back in France. I'm not even sure what made me do the cert. Well, I feel like certification is it's the certification game. And so I played the certification game at the lowest level. because once you have the certification, you have the certification,
Yeah.
right? So I got the TEFL. I think I did the 200-hour course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
So
know a lot of women who use that as a plan B or,
mhm,
you know, as supplemental income. It's an easy entry point,
mhm,
generally on in any country. And you can do it online now so easily. So I don't know what the, you know, what the pay is. But it's definitely an easy foray into some additional income.
especially if you have a teacher's heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
See,
but let me,
that's not my jam.
yeah, absolutely. If I had all the money in the world, I would still teach.
Okay.
And I would still charge, because if you don't charge, they don't appreciate it.
Oh,
So,
come on now. Who in the world can do anything or talk about anything for free anymore? I don't know.
yeah. So for me, it's like I've given discounts, and nobody seems to like, nobody says, "Oh, I appreciate it." Instead, I find that those things tend to devalue your value to them.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
The easier you make it, the less value they value your time, less they
Oh,
value.
sure, sure, sure. I mean, you know,
But can I go back?
everybody wants a Mercedes, but if you got Chevrolet money, then you're in the wrong dealership. You know, I can't do nothing
Right,
for you.
right.
You can want it all you want.
But I can give you directions to that dealership.
Oh, it's over there. It's over there.
So, but I want to go back to Saipan, because
Yes.
Saipan, like, I don't suggest Black women move to Saipan unless they move in a co-living community together.
Oh, you know, you just said a key word, co-living. Speak to that.
Yes. So here's the thing: I was there by myself,
Yeah.
and I'll have to say this to you: up until I found Exodus Summit and the expat app, I didn't
Mm-hmm.
really have I didn't really have community. Like, I had community, but it wasn't Black woman community. In
Yes,
Nice,
yes, yes.
in Nice, there was Anglo Info, and there was the meetups, right? And so I had those community, and then I had Italian friends and I had French friends,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't have Black women community until Exodus Summit.
Hey,
So,
that's the mothership. It's the
right.
mothership.
So,
Yeah.
but so landing on Saipan, there's the local community. There's a lot of Filipinos are the most.
Mm-hmm.
There's more Filipinos than there are locals. Okay.
Interesting.
So there's Filipinos, there's Chinese, and there's Korean. And then, well, Filipinos are first, and then I think the locals, and then there's Chinese, and then there's Korean, and then there's probably 400 Americans. And the
Yeah.
weird is, the most diverse community was the white American community, because they married into all the different cultures and were very accepting.
Mm-hmm.
Asian communities, very, very closed. And I taught English there, and my kids loved me, but I caught so many strays from the stuff their parents were saying. And it was just like, oh, it was damaging. It was damaging.
Mm. Okay.
Um,
Okay. I think
and it
that's
was,
got to be an important factor when making a decision to go somewhere.
yes. And there's just no, that, like, I stayed there because I wanted that place to work out, and I stayed longer than I should have. And I'm healing from it, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Healing from it. And what I've learned, because everything is a learning opportunity, right? What I
That it
learned,
is.
if you are staying in a place where you're not supposed to be, first
Yeah.
of all, lose. And I'm a little hard-headed. But there's clues. And so I'm not saying don't move to Saipan.
Uh-huh.
I'm saying don't go without community. Like, you
Right.
if you have if you can work from anywhere, and you don't want to do the visa thing, you can get on an airplane without your passport. You have to fly through Hawaii, but
Okay.
you can get on the airplane without your passport, last I checked, and land on Saipan, and you don't need a visa. You can get, last I checked, you can get like a 3-bedroom house for about $1,200. So
Okay.
you could get 3 people in there. You can also buy a car there from somebody who's leaving the island. So there's a lot of coming and going.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um, one of the things, if you're in the health, if you're a healthcare provider, it is underserved. And again,
Okay.
last time I checked, there are a lot of people getting their student loans repaid for going and committing to 1 or 2 years.
Ooh, now that's interesting. And that's a great
Mhm.
opportunity for
That's great.
those of us who, those of them, because, I've retired. I ain't even in the workplace, ain't trying to know
Right.
about it. But there are a lot of people who want to exodus and
Mhm.
they need to be employed on some level. So that's really great to know. And like you said, it's a US territory, so passport not required. Yeah.
You do have to do up to date research in,
Right, right,
you
right.
can look on the websites for jobs that are in underserved areas and see what they
Because
provide.
that's an excellent way to I think it's a soft way to leave the continental,
Hmm.
get a feel for being outside
Yeah.
of the United States proper,
Hmm.
and see whether or not you're ready to make an international move, so to speak.
Yeah.
I don't know what the time frame is in getting passports now. With all of the agencies being downsized, etc. I don't even know what the turnaround time is. I told people when I first started, I'm like, get your passport, get it now.
Mhm.
Make
And
sure that
if
it's up to
your
date.
passport is going to expire in the next year, get it renewed now.
Get it renewed now. Get it
Yeah.
renewed
And
now.
here's the thing, because people don't understand, your passport expires 6 months before it expires.
That's right. That's
You
right. That's certain countries you can't get in unless you've got more
can't
than six
travel.
months. That's right.
Right. So your passport expires 6 months before it expires.
Yeah, yeah. Stay on top of that. Stay on top of that.
Right.
It is your
So
ticket to the world, literally.
yes. So to me, it's like a get it now. If you got kids, get theirs. If you got grandbabies coming, get theirs.
Yeah, because you can apply for the passport at the same time you do the Social Security with newborns in the
Right.
hospital. You can apply right then and there, and I think that's the smartest thing to do because everybody's in that blissful state. This is the new baby. We want to give the baby everything. Give the baby literally the world
Yes.
by applying for that passport while you're still in that loving state because
Yes.
things change.
Yes. So I want to add one thing to community. Um, you now have it because of Facebook, because of Instagram. You
Yeah.
don't have to not have it like I didn't have it. But I'll tell you, I was in Thailand, and
Hmm.
Thailand has black in Bangkok, black in Chiang Mai, brothers and sisters in Chiang Mai, like it has
Everything.
strongest community. And I was like not feeling Thailand. And I
Uh-huh.
definitely feeling Bangkok. I was like, oh no, I'm big city, no. And I had a house sit because
Uh-huh.
it was like I was in Chiang Mai and I couldn't find a house sit, but I got a house sit in Bangkok, and I was like, well, Bangkok it is then. Adventures While Black and Black in Bangkok. I did 2 Christmas parties and a brunch and a day trip to
Yeah,
Pattaya.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
was like, stay in here, I'm never leaving. And it was the
yeah,
community. It was the
exactly.
cost of living was so cheap, but the community was amazing. And
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. That is
there's a
definitely on my 2026 list. I think
yeah,
that's where I'm bringing in the new year is in
yes,
Thailand, and I right now have made connections with some of those same groups that you just named for that
anyway,
very purpose. Because
yeah,
even though I'm not going to be traveling alone, I will be reunited with my travel partner, Wendy.
okay,
And so we're going to do Thailand and well, Southeast Asia together.
yes,
Um, but that sense of community is
yeah,
very important because I don't want, listen, with technology the way it is now, you don't have to figure it out yourself. All you got to do is
right,
hit in the chat. What's the best neighborhood? What's
yeah,
that fits into my budget? Your safety concerns, your social desires, right? If you want to be in the mix, then where should you be?
yeah.
Do I need a car? All of those things.
And that's what I'm doing here in Cape Verde is creating soft landings because
I love that.
everybody here looks like me. So I can't tell if somebody speaks English or not. And because everybody looks like me, like everywhere else in the world that I've traveled alone, I'm different. So people are like,
Uh-huh.
hey, hi, how's it going? Like you meet a lot of people, but I look like everybody here. So they
Oh,
speak Creole to me. And then when they tell me, when I don't speak Creole back, they're like, you need to speak Creole. You like, you can't
okay. So
have
it's
that
Creole.
face.
It's not Portuguese
It's
in
not
Canada?
Portuguese. It's a Creole.
Interesting.
And
Okay.
apparently, people have said it's actually easier to learn than Portuguese. So I was learning Portuguese, and because of my French, I'm able to speak, especially to the Senegalese people because they speak French. But because of my French, I understand. I did take Spanish too, so because of those things, I understand quite a bit of Portuguese and
Uh-huh.
can
Uh-huh.
kind of get by. But they're expecting Creole, and they are not happy that I don't speak Creole.
All right. Well, you home girl, learn the language. Learn. I think when I find home, wherever that is, that's when I'm gonna immerse myself in learning the language.
Okay.
I've been so lazy, Miss Melanie. I'm not gonna tell you no lie. In learning Spanish, I am just getting by. And I spend a lot of time in Spanish speaking countries. And a friend of mine said, you really ought to do an immersion class because you're there all the time.
Okay.
I'm
Can
I
I give you
may
a tip?
or give me a
Can I give
tip,
you
girl.
help X?
Okay, help X.
Find somebody who needs a little bit of gardening help each day, but will give you an immersion experience in the language for basically for free. They're gonna
Yeah,
feed you. They're gonna feed you. They're gonna house you, and then you're gonna learn Spanish much quicker than
yeah.
if you did, right? And now even me, I'm like, hey, I need to get on HelpX and see if there's people here.
Okay,
I
so do you have a referral code for help X? Because we
there I
always
don't
want to support.
I don't think there is a referral code for HelpX. I will check,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
I think I can give somebody a membership, but I didn't see where they have a referral code. But I'll check that. That's a good
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah. We will
So
drop that information because you've mentioned it a couple of times and it seems like a very vital resource.
yes,
So we want to make sure that we share the correct and up-to-date information when we do post. Great,
I
great.
will, I will definitely give a link, and then if there's a discount link as well, I'll try to find that as well.
All right, cool,
So,
cool.
but HelpX is it for anybody who's trying to learn a language and can get to that country where they want to learn that language. If you can go stay with locals, you're going to have a local experience. You're going to learn
Yes.
the language. You're going to learn to cook the food. You're going to you're doing it, and like you might work 4 to 5 hours the day, but this is what you're getting for that
In
exchange,
exchange. Yeah, yeah.
right?
Could work for a lot of people. Work
Yeah.
is a four-letter word for me right now in my life, but I hear you. I hear you.
I'll
Duly
tell you
noted,
this.
okay?
In Southeast Asia, it was not a deal. Like, not only were they like, you work 5 hours a day, 6 days a week, but they were like, you need to pay us $10 a day. And I was like,
Man,
oh,
what?
no, absolutely not.
That's a no
So
for me, dog.
I was like, wait a minute, I'm going to pay you
Yeah.
to work? Like, no. And I don't,
And
I think there's a new thing called volunteerism.
mhm.
And that's not for me.
Yeah, no, no. At this stage in my life, I'm not gonna say age, but at this stage in my life, that's a no for me. But it may work for other women, and that's what we're here to offer options, right? I know you spoke about, healing journeys and some of the meditation retreats that you've done. Let's talk a little bit about the space where healing and gratitude helps you along this journey. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay, so gratitude is the first place, right? I mean, recently I have been like, I am so grateful to my past selves because of
Yes.
what they survived.
Woo.
And even their survival tactics have gotten me to here, this beautiful place. So I don't just say thank you to the ancestors, but I'm saying thank you to the past me because those girls, like, they're soldiers.
Give me some on that. Give me some on that.
Those girls are soldiers, and they went through
Yes.
some stuff, and they've been through some healing, and because of the work they did, I am the future self right now.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
And I try to do everything I can do to honor my future self, but it starts with gratitude. I am thankful for this amazing, beautiful body that I have. These legs, like, right? Like, I don't look at my body and think I'm fat. I look at my body and I'm like, it is an amazing, first of all, I have an amazing self-healing body and a superhuman immune system, and that's something that has that was true, and then I realized it, and now I use that
Mm-hmm.
as a mantra. But my
Mm-hmm.
body's been through physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, and it is here. And
Yes,
I
it
just went
is.
to Kuala Lumpur, and I did the $500 head to toe A to Z checkup, and the results were I need to start planning for a long life.
All right, girl. Yes, I love that so much.
Yeah, I was
Yes.
like, well, I guess I better start planning to be here for a while.
Yes.
I was like,
Yes.
nothing. Like when I got there, they were like, your blood pressure's really high. And I was like, I'm not surprised about that. Like, first, I'm stressed out because we rushed here. And then we were in the wrong place. So we came there and there's just the
Yeah.
nervousness.
Yeah.
And then they were like, well, we can't give you the stress test until your blood pressure comes down. So we'll move it to the afternoon. And I just did some deep breathing, and she was like, let's go do the stress test. The healing. Gratitude is the first place.
Yes, I agree.
Gratitude is absolutely the first place. I believe in a gratitude journal, which is why there's a link for it's a free week, but you can keep it, it's a week. So you can do it 52 times and have yourself a
Yes.
gratitude journal. Because first of all, I feel like print it out. I know ink is expensive, but when you are thinking something and you write it out, you are literally bringing it into the physical realm.
You are giving it life. Absolutely.
Right. You are giving it life. You are bringing it into the physical realm. Write it out. Right. Write what you want out. So gratitude, your perspective, again, me finally realizing that my past selves, like let's thank them, because it's thanks to them that I have this. What is the other part of meditation and yoga.
Okay. Which is quiet. That's quietness. And a lot of us do not have comfort in quiet. Go ahead, speak to that.
Yes. For me, like, you hear it everywhere. You want to lose weight, you want to deal with anxiety, you want your hair to grow back, like everything. You meditation and yoga. And I was like, I'm tired of hearing it. Right? Because it's free.
Yep.
It's literally free. It's free. So these things are, yes, about quieting yourself, about becoming aware of your body sensation,
Mm-hmm.
becoming aware of your thoughts and how you are not your thoughts.
Okay.
Right? Like, we all have crazy thoughts and we're like, where did that come from? It's because you're
Mm-hmm.
not your thoughts. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly think we are connected on wavelengths that we can't see and hear. So some of the things that come in are on that wavelength. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Like, you can't see radio waves, but if you tune the thing in, you can hear it. And I think sometimes we're tuned in. Like, I have dreams and then I'm like, I know that I dreamt, like that's somebody else's dream, or I was in somebody else's. Right. My
Mm-hmm.
dreams are like movies.
Yeah, I
So
dream in Technicolor. I really do. And I dream big. And I encourage people to dream big.
mhm. All right, let me just say this, because this is probably the most important thing. And I've said it already. You are in a narcissistic relationship with your country. Okay. If you are a Black woman living in the United States, racism directly correlates with narcissism. Okay. And you are in a narcissistic relationship with your country. And unfortunately, you don't know how much that's affecting you
Yeah.
until you leave the situation.
Until you leave.
And you cannot start healing until you leave the situation.
You
And
can't heal in the same place that's broken you.
You cannot. And so you ladies that have been in abusive relationships and have left, you know what it feels like, but you remember how you didn't know until you left. Well, that's what's going on with all Black women in the United States. You're in it and you don't know it and you can't feel it until you remove yourself. And when you remove yourself, you go, oh. I mean,
How heavy was that bag? How heavy was it? You didn't realize the weight because
yes.
we've been conditioned to carry it.
And I'm going to tell you this. This is me being extra open. But
Please.
my last 2 months on Saipan, I was like, why am I even staying on this planet? I'm ready to go.
Ooh.
Like, I've always been like, I'm ready for the next thing. I've lived an amazing, beautiful life. And if I die, I die. Like, look, if I get cancer, I'm not fighting cancer. I'm just going to be high till I die.
Till I die. Oh, bring me the good stuff. Bring me everything that I thought I wanted to experiment with before. I'm doing it now.
All of it.
All of it.
Right. And so I'm not going to fight to stay here. But my last few months, because I was self-gaslighting myself and I just didn't want to even be here anymore. I got to the point where I was like, why haven't I just done it?
Done what? Melanie, done what?
Ended things.
Oh.
I was to the point where I was like,
Conversation.
if I could figure out why I haven't done it, maybe I could do it and be done, right?
Oh, Lord.
So if you are in a miserable place, you have the choice to move. You have the choice to leave. Like, and me, give me an air mattress and I will get my hustle on and I will make things work. So I have one cousin and I was like, I don't have that deal, that stick with it gene. I don't have that loyalty to people who are not loyal to me gene. I have the like, oh, this ain't working, I'm out gene.
Yeah.
And I'm here and there's a lot of stuff I want to tell you about Cape Verde, so we got to make sure to have time for that. But when you're in the wrong place, your mental state is not where it should be for you to make. Well, I think you have to make the move to leave in order to make the right choices. And that's why I would say to some of the ladies, because you just don't know until you leave how much healing you need.
That is correct.
Right? You don't know.
You don't.
Sometimes that healing just lands on you. So I highly suggest finding a place where you can, like, if you can do a 6-month house sit somewhere. I think that was your story, right? Like, you did your thing and then you found the 6.
Sure did.
Right?
Sure did.
If you can find a long-term house sit, there's a lot of healing that you don't even know you need to heal from. And
that's right. That's right.
I think there was
I want to interject by saying that once you start on a healing journey, don't think that it's an ED on the end of it, because you're never going to reach that heal. You're always in the process of healing. And you have to be open to that as an understanding. You know, I'm not at the end of this journey. It's a progressive journey.
That's right.
And you have to move at your own pace. But I think the most important thing is that you keep moving.
Yes. Well, I'm going to say this. Sometimes by keeping moving, it means still. So, there's the saying, don't just stand there, do something. Don't just sit there, do something. Okay? And that is a great transition from victim mentality. Everything happens to me. This is my life coaching, right? People are stuck in victim mentality. They don't realize they have a choice. But when you choose to take personal responsibility for things, you move from to me to by me.
That's right.
And so that's, don't just sit there, do some things. Just sitting there is victim mentality. Just do something is personal responsibility. It's by me mentality. And then you move from by me to through me. And by me is the phrase becomes, don't just do something, sit there. Okay. And when you stop sitting there. You give up the need for control. You don't give up control.
That's
You
right.
give up the need for control. Then you move into through me, and then magic starts to happen because you just intuitively end up in this space where you meet a client, or you intuitively end up in a space where a woman comes, brings you a bottle of wine, some towels, a thing, and says, hey, you know
That
what?
part.
You
That
can have
part.
my job.
Yes. Yeah.
It can be almost a panic state sitting quiet when you're not used to being quiet.
Yeah.
Right. And my healing that I went through recently was self-trust,
Mm-hmm.
because I was dragging all of my past selves, like, we just got to do, we're doing, and we just got to do. And like, they didn't trust me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I was doing scuba diving and having panic attacks. And she was like, don't you feel safe? And I was like, I don't ever feel safe. And I was like, oh, okay, I need to deal with that. And like,
Uh-huh.
do I trust me? And the answer was no, I do not trust me, because I was choosing toxic people
Mm-hmm.
and not setting boundaries and letting them walk all over me. And when I decided to listen to them and listen to my body and to build a trust in myself.
Yes.
And that it's just, and different people heal in different ways and at
That's
different
right.
times. You
That's
might
right.
start with trust. You
Mm-hmm.
might
Mm-hmm.
start with self-compassion. You
Right.
might start with just being still and listening. Like, your journey is your journey.
That's
Uh,
right.
but it's important to have.
It's deeply personal and individual.
Mhm. And to me, it's important. Like, if you like, I have never had the money to do therapy, but
All
I'm
right.
reading for books and I'm doing all the coaching and coaching people. So getting myself coached and coaching. And yeah, I'm an advocate for therapy. I'm not saying don't get therapy. I'm saying if you can't afford therapy, there's a lot of stuff out there to
There
get you
is a
there.
ton of stuff on the internet. I mean, I did an intensive 30-day at the
Mhm.
beginning of the year, and that facilitator has all these different modalities that she posts up on YouTube anytime that you want to, engage. So there's no excuse
Yeah.
because you don't have the resources, the financial resources. Some of this stuff is so readily available for free, but you got to be ready. And that is a choice.
You do have to be ready. And the other thing I do, maybe not everybody does this, but sometimes I go too hard, too fast,
Okay.
and down into the hole to dig it up, or right. And so I have to take breaks. Like right now, I have 2 books in my Libby, and it's about narcissistic mother. And I'm like, I can't do that right now, because
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
I go deep, and I go deep, and I have friends who are like, you go deep, you need to come up for air, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, but right now, because I'm on Cape Verde and I'm in, like, I don't know the language yet, and I don't really know very many people. So it's like, no, this isn't the time to go deep and need to be on the couch for 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so
Absolutely.
make sure to always practice. I think for people who have not started the journey, self-compassion is a great place to start. Gratitude and self-compassion.
Yeah. Your struggle might be somebody's dream. You know? Keep
Hey,
it, let's keep it real.
I say it all the time. I was like, I'm not giving up my problems, because I know there are people who would mug me for my problems. Like,
Do you understand what I'm saying? My mom used to say the same thing. If you think you got problems, get into a circle with 10 other people. Everybody drop their biggest problem in the center, and you go pick through all those problems. I guarantee you're gonna pick yours back up. Thank you, Lord. Yep, yep, I received
and,
this. Now help me get through it.
and fight for it. Like, that's my problem. Give it
That is
back.
my problem. You can't have it. That's my pile of shit. I know how bad it stinks, and I know how to cover it up. So give me mine. Give me
And I
mine.
what in my coaching, when you get to a certain level, you start to realize there's no problem. That's why I say my coaching is problem-free, effortless living.
Okay.
Like, if that's what you want, that's what my coaching plan is. Okay.
All
And
right.
when you get to a point you realize that every trigger, every problem is an opportunity for growth.
Yep.
It is a chance. See, we have these triggers, but if we will go into the trigger and figure out what created it and where it come from, we just snip it, and then that no longer triggers us anymore. So
Girl,
if like
you
every
preaching to the
trigger,
choir now.
right? Every trigger that you have is an opportunity for growth and freedom.
Freedom.
Because if you go in there and you disconnect that, right? Then it doesn't trigger you anymore. Or if it does, you go, oh, I'm triggered. This means, and then you have the tools for like, I'm going to do some deep breathing. I'm going to
That's
sit
right.
still. I'm going to do that. You have the tools, right? So if you can get to the point, like, I don't have problems. I have opportunities for growth. When
Yes.
feel like it's like if I have enough energy, if I have enough emotional energy, right? When you have low energy, it happens to you. When you have a medium level of energy, you realize, okay, this is a problem, but I can do these things to make. And when you have high energy, you realize it's an opportunity for growth, and you
Yeah. Yeah.
immediately go in and you immediately start to look at, okay, where's the opportunity here? Oh, this is, it's like I was the example I gave is if you have a car and you see a ticket on your car, right? If you're in a low energy mode, you're like, oh, this always happens to me. I can't catch a break. If you're in a middle level, you're like, oh, ticket. Oh my gosh, I have to go pay this. I have to go do this, right? If you're in a higher level, you're like, I wonder who I'm going to meet while I'm paying this ticket. I wonder, like, what magical thing is going to happen because this is here. So it's not a problem. It's an opportunity for something. And when you're vibing at that level, all the magic starts to happen, right?
I love that word magic because
Yeah.
I look for the magic in every single day. I expect beauty out of every day, and I never know where I'm gonna find it. Maybe it's, while the Uber is stopped at the red light, there's somebody who's, juggling knives or swords or something, at the intersection, and I'm like, wow, how does he do that? I actually saw a fire dancer twirling in the middle of the intersection, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty magical.
I
I'm
saw
not
that.
on a resort. I'm in the neighborhood. I'm in the hood. And I'm seeing all these things. So it's about managing those expectations and keeping them high. I
Yes.
expect beauty out of my life. And
That's,
so that's my expectation. That's what I get.
yes. And I am a masterful manifester because I know how to use gratitude. I know how to raise my energy up. Um, it's just when you get to that certain level, things just start happening. And when even sometimes you drop down,
You
like
do.
I had a sad day a couple days ago, and I was like, hold on, what's going on? And I reached into gratitude, and I reached into like raising up my energy level, and then
Yeah.
things just started off, right?
There you go. There you go. And
And,
that
and you sent me a message, and I sent you a voice message like, because I want you to have some of this energy.
Oh man, girl, I was like, whoo, pump brakes, because I wasn't there, but it was contagious. Opportunities, they really, chances don't have expiration dates. You're not too old. It's not too late. None of those things are applicable because there's no expiration date on the life that you really want to live.
That's right.
So figure out what's holding you back, whether it be your
Yes.
physical, mental, spiritual, or emotional stuff, and find a way to work within the financial structure that you have.
Can I talk about that?
Please do.
So
Just
one
talk
of the
about the money because you can't do it without no money now.
Well, and that's the thing. That's one of the things is that like I live off of very little money, but money is not my only currency.
Correct.
And my current mantra is I am open to all currencies. And one of the things that I think keeps people who feel like they don't have enough money, and especially if they feel undereducated as well, it keeps them from doing things because they're not looking at all the currencies that they have.
Mm-hmm,
Right.
mm-hmm.
And so it's like, for me, I teach English, and that teaching English is a currency that
Yeah.
I have all over the world to bring me money,
That's right.
right? I can bake. So like I'm at the store looking at the prices for different things so that I can start baking my cookies and baking my cakes, because in Cape Verde I've been told you get more response from friendship. Like
Mhm.
they're not about the money, they're about the friendship. It's hard because my American brain wants to just throw money at you.
Of course.
Right?
Mhm.
And we as Americans, we get locked up in the need for money, but you have other currencies. That's a part of the coaching too. It's like, let's
Okay.
look at what you have and your currencies and how you can use them. Because to me, it's like you can do nails and you can do hair, especially black hair. There's a lot of places you can move to,
What?
right?
Oh my goodness.
There's a lot of places you can move to and just spread the word. Here, I'm here, and everybody I meet, I'm like, I teach English. I teach English. If you know anybody who wants English, I teach English. I teach English, right?
Right.
Right. Like if you are serving the African American diaspora in another place, your prices can probably be a little bit higher because they're used to doing it in the States and those prices, right? Like if you braid hair and you go to Thailand to braid hair, you're not going to charge that price because you don't need
No.
to.
No.
But you're not going to charge the price that like Thai people braiding hair are going to charge, because you also don't need to do that either, right?
Right.
You're going to find that middle ground. You can teach English. Some like there's so many people who don't cook anymore. Can you cook? Like go somewhere and cook and just serve plates. Like
I'm like, could somebody just cook what I want to eat and bring it
yes,
to my apartment for me,
yes,
please? And
I will
thank
pay a
you.
lot of
I
money.
pay for that. There are certain things that I will pay for because it makes my life easier. And I'm on a trajectory of peace and ease. And I don't like to cook. I don't like to grocery shop. I don't like any of those domestic chores. So, yeah, come on. Come on. I need you.
So to me, it's like we all, and especially as Black women, we are multi-talented.
Yeah.
We are multi-talented. So if you don't have enough money, that's okay. You have other currencies.
Yes. Yes.
And
I agree.
I don't know, I'm a hustler. I'm
I can tell. I can tell.
an entrepreneur and I'm a hustler. So like again, like things happen here that were different from what I expected. So my money was a little tight, right? But is it a problem? No, because I'm a hustler. I'm getting it done and getting things
Yeah,
going.
yeah, yeah. You're gonna find a way, you're gonna make a way. Absolutely.
Right. And so like, yeah, don't let money stop you.
Okay. All right.
And I
And
one more thing before we
yes, yes, yes. And then we're gonna come back another time and we're gonna really talk about your experience in Cape Verde. Go ahead.
oh, but the one thing is the education. That is another thing. Do not let the fact that you don't have a degree stop you from getting out here in these international streets.
What?
Like, don't let that stop you, because
Is that a consideration, you think?
I
I don't have enough education to travel internationally. You think that's a consideration?
I think a lot of people feel like they need a degree to come someplace and get a job and do, and that's just not the reality. Like, yeah, I feel like it is a thing that people think they don't have enough education.
Okay,
And
if they are looking for employment opportunities.
if they're, well, I mean, that's the thing. Even if you're looking for employment opportunities, you do not need, like, my life kind of, my autobiography is called I Did a Lot of Things Wrong and They Turned Out Perfect.
Uh-huh.
Right. And one of them was I had the choice of finishing my degree and going into debt and having a predatory lending student loan, or freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And I chose freedom. And I'm out here 22 years living in these international streets without a degree.
Without a degree.
Without a degree. So do not let that be a brule.
Yeah.
Not enough money. Don't let that be a brule.
Okay. And what's your rule again? What does that stand for?
A rule is a bullshit rule that
A
you make
bullshit rule.
to keep you from doing stuff that you want to do, like no rules, right?
Yes, I love
It's
that. I
not my
love that.
somebody else's word, but I use it all the time. And I try to, like, that's another part of my coaching. I will call out your brules. I will show you. That's a brule right there.
Yeah. That is not a fact. Let's get to the facts.
But I hear people say, I can't leave the States. They hate Black people everywhere. No, they don't.
No, they don't.
No,
No,
they don't.
I find so much love in these streets. That's why I share it.
And then, like, you don't understand if you haven't left the United States what systemic racism does versus, like, there might be, you can go to a country and they might throw shade at dark skin, but it's not systemic against
That
you,
part.
right?
That part.
And so you don't know until you get out here. But don't,
Yeah.
like, that's a rule to me. Well, they hate Black people anywhere, so why would I leave? Like, no, it's not the same. It's
Well,
not.
I mean, the United States has done a wonderful job of feeding us the Kool-Aid,
That's
which
right.
tells us that this is the best place on earth for us. And like you said, once you have that first experience of being able to step outside of systemic racism and the microaggressions that the United States puts on you, that the survival techniques are in our DNA
That's right.
because we've had to have them for so long. Once you can decompress your nervous system from that bull crap over there in them borders, you're like, how do I reconcile going back?
You
How do
won't.
I really reconcile going back? You're gonna find a way not to go back. I know I have.
Yeah, you won't. You won't go back.
How can you?
I think that the people who leave and go back on some level, they need the drama. They, like, their nervous system never regulates to peace and safety.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
they go to it. And there's some people who just won't leave, and they're not leaving because they also
Well, I mean, it's
are.
not for everybody, but I do feel like, and I said this on a short video that I did just this past week. I said I feel like we're in the second great migration for African American people in the United States. The first one saw millions of us move from the rural South and that systemic racism, Jim Crow, into other parts of the country. But I think the second great migration is outside of those borders. But because we have stopped drinking the Kool-Aid, we are using our voices to share the good news that life can be so much better as a person of color outside of those borders than inside. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
every story matters. And that's why I love having guests just like yourself. 22 years, like I said, you're OG in these international streets
Oh,
and
yeah.
figuring it out. Everything is figure outable. And if you can't figure it out, then you need to book a session with Miss Melanie so she can help you get rid of your stuff, your physical stuff, your mental stuff, drop all the bags and get on a flight, girlfriend.
We're gonna
Yes. I
drop
love it.
baggage and we're gonna pack baggage and you're gonna go.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, it has been an absolute joy speaking with you today. Time zone differences. I love it. We were like, okay, well, what time is it going to be where you are? Because I'm like, okay, I think I can get up early enough and be presentable enough to have a conversation on a Saturday morning. But it has been a delight chatting with you. And I know that your story is going to inspire and empower other women. So we're going to drop the link to your many opportunities to speak one-on-one so that
Yeah,
you can each one reach one.
that's
Each
right.
one reach one. Yeah.
Now, there's
Yeah.
a couple of links where they have diamond discounts.
Okay. I love that. Diamond discounts.
Okay,
Yes.
you'll see the link and it should say diamond discount on the side. The one-on-one coaching. Oh, and the other one, yeah. So one or two links.
Fantastic. And they can download your free gratitude journal and
That's right.
start
Yeah,
start
gratitude.
right where you are, but get started, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to say one more thing. Don't let money stop you from reaching out to me because I accept all currencies. So let's talk about
Yeah.
what other currencies you have, right?
There you go.
when I say currencies, there's like euros and there's pounds and there's dollars, but there's also like personal assistance and VA, and there's all kinds of different
All
things, right?
kinds of currencies. Exactly. I don't like technology. So somebody who comes to me and says, listen, we can barter on technology, I'm
That's
all
right.
for it.
That's
So
right.
yes, there is a way to get it done regardless of financial currency.
That's right.
And I
Yes.
appreciate that message so much.
And I have to say thank you to you. I say this to you all the time. I'm going to continue to say it. But I found Expat app, and through Expat app, I found you. And I was struggling on
Oh,
Saipan,
yes.
struggling. And then through you sat down with Stephanie, and through her, I found Exodus Summit. But you were the one that showed me, like, because I had already done house sitting and I'd already done
Yes.
but I hadn't put traveling and house sitting together. And you
Together.
started that possibility of like, oh, and I was already house sitting for people on Saipan. So like you are part of the one of the people who saved me from just being in the wrong place.
Ah.
I am forever grateful to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That inspires me and encourages me to keep doing what I'm doing. So
Yes.
I appreciate you, sis. Thank you so much for all that you do. And like I said, our voices have power. So thank you for using your power to encourage and inspire. And we'll talk again once you're really settled and you can tell us what life is like in Cape Verde.
Okay. And if you want to know before we talk, you can follow me on my YouTube because I'm posting daily Cape Verde, and I'm creating soft landings for the diaspora
I
that
love
want
it.
here on this particular island. I don't know the other islands yet,
Yeah.
but
All
all right.
right. We will definitely look you up. Thank you again so much. Your light is shining. It is bright. It is radiating through. And I'm glad that my audience had a chance to experience it. Have a beautiful day. And as I always say to everybody who's listening, if you're doing team replay, put that in the comments. But wherever you are, whatever you're doing in the world, I wish you nothing but peace and blessings. Thank you.
Peace.